The first thing on our agenda this evening is approval of minutes from our regular session on September 10th, 2024, and our regular work session on September 24th, 2004. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I wasn't here September 10th.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, Mr. Burning, may we please have the fiscal officer's financial report?
Yes, Mr. Honolulu. For the month ending September 30th, 2024, the township expenditures were $2,269,605.21, and receipts were $1,569,638.20. This left us with a cash balance of $31,018,975.73. These include obligations to expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvements, and investments. What I request from the board is approval of receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue reports for the period ending September 30th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And I just want everyone to know that our financial statements are available here at the main building during regular business hours or on our website 24/7. Thank you, Mr. Honolulu.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Next, moving on to departmental action and discussion items. Mr. Gilbert, do we have the Township Administrator's report?
We do. This evening, Mr. Honolulu, we don't have a ton of action items. We're ramping up toward the end of the year, we start to approve the preliminary budget and a lot of other ancillary approvals related to township operations, but those won't be until probably November and December meetings. But tonight I do have, as we do every year customarily, to set the date and time for Halloween. It is recommended by staff that we do it the same time we have done it for decades, which is, and maybe for all of eternity, which is October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. here in the township. In years past, we've had individuals ask us to change the date, but as you know, we know that whatever decision we make as it relates to the date and time of Halloween, 2 people would like it and 4 people wouldn't. So we're going to keep it October 31st from 6 to 8. And if it rains or if it's windy or whatever, then make your own decisions as to what to do. But that's Halloween, and that's when we are recommending we have it.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And just so we're clear, if the weather is poor, you don't need to send them out on Halloween. Because when it starts raining, then people blame us for not canceling it. I mean, not every resident would get the cancellation anyway, so it's up to you to use your own judgment for your children.
Unfortunately, that is true. Under discussion items, I'm going to jump around here a little bit. The fire and EMS levy, hopefully residents have received their informational mailer that was sent out regarding the fire levy, which is known as issue 24. Hopefully that explains the reasoning why this board took action to place it on the ballot and give residents the choice whether or not you want to maintain the current level of service for your fire and medic department. If you have any questions regarding any information that was outlined in that mailer, or if you didn't receive one for whatever reason, because we did send it to every household, but if for some reason the United States Postal Service did not get it to you, we'd be happy to get you one and talk about any information that's outlined in that mailer. I won't bore everyone with going over that tonight unless there are any questions, but I just want to make sure everyone's aware that we're more than open to have a dialogue regarding the need for the levy and let you make your own decision, your own informed decision once you're provided with all the information. But most of the information is outlined in that mailer, so hopefully everyone got it. I'm going to skip over the development update because I know I have a few people in the audience that may be here to talk about various developments going on in the township, so we'll do that last and then let people speak when it comes to public participation. Under the personnel update, let me pull it up here. We do have a little bit of activity. In the administration department, we did have the retirement of Kathy Hauser as receptionist, and we had the retirement of Alan Lakamp as a code enforcement officer. In the fire department, we did have the resignation of Ulysses Cisco as a part-time EMT firefighter. We did have the new hire of Richard Alley as a part-time medic, Aaron Bowling as a part-time medic, Jacob Miller as a part-time EMT firefighter, and Owen Saylor as a part-time EMT firefighter. And then also the hiring of Matthew Schuler as a part-time medic firefighter, Nick Tooley as a part-time medic firefighter, and Ishelle Turner as a part-time medic firefighter. As the board is aware, it has been a really rough market to find part-time medic firefighters, and I want to commend Director Bly and Chief Miller with your recruitment efforts to bring in additional part-time medics and firefighters. It is critical to the operations of our department to ensure that we are as efficient as possible, and the part-time system is what enables us to do that. There are other communities that have similar sized departments as we do that are all full-time, make similar size amount of runs that we do in their communities, and their fire budget is double what ours is because they didn't utilize the part-time system. So because we utilize the part-time system, we're able to be as efficient as we are, and so that's a credit to you too. So thank you for your recruitment efforts, bringing in those part-time medics and firefighters. I know that's not easy because they're hard to come by. I don't know if you had any comments.
No, I appreciate that. Chief Miller, he's created kind of a system now that is scheduling-wise for those part-time employees that they might be full-time other places or newly getting into the profession. And credit to him and his staff for recruiting and really kind of coming up with a system that is attracted to the part-time work. So thank you.
Thanks for both of you, all your hard work. No activity in the police or public works department. But in the Arts Center, we did have the resignation of Molly Eastman as a guest services coordinator and the new hire of Aaron Eastman as a guest services coordinator. So we are back to full in the Arts Center. With that, that concludes the personnel update. I know that there is a report from Kim as it relates to the activities that are going on. I do know that she had in her report the recap of the fire department open house, which I'm sure Chief Miller will talk about. I wanted to announce to the public that we do have an upcoming community engagement event for residents. We have the October 26th Halloween Hootenanny is what she calls it, from noon to 3 here in front of the Arts Center. It's a family event for kids and families to come out and enjoy the Halloween festivities that the Arts Center and the Township will be putting on that day. And then additionally on November 8th from 7 to 10, and then also on November 9th from 10 to 2, we have the local art show. So local artists will be displaying their art for viewing and sale, and there'll be food and music, I'm sure, as usual. But that, again, that is November 8th and November 9th. And any additional questions regarding that can be directed to Kim Flam in our arts department. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Bly to give me the police department report because Chief Niehaus is out of town.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Chief Niehaus has had some mandatory new chief training that's mandated by law by the Attorney General up in Columbus. I'm sure he's enjoying his time up there. But there are some good things going on at the police department. One of the things he wanted me to make sure that we report was that the Cincinnati Rotary Club approached all the chiefs in Hamilton County with the initiative that they wanted to provide defibrillators, AEDs, to at least 3 cruisers at every shift in Hamilton County. So they were raising money to be able to provide that throughout the county. And we were one of the first agencies on the list to participate in that. So we are going to be having our AED. We're being trained by our fire department personnel staff, so we're just about to have everybody trained in that. So that's going to be an awesome benefit for our officers out there and for some life-saving techniques out there for that. Then just real quickly, hopefully everybody's kind of recognized we've had some really good feedback with the increased traffic enforcement on Winton Road. Our officers are doing the best they can, getting up there, making sure the school zones. We have a lot of school zones on Winton Road, like everybody's aware of. And then I'm working with the Public Works Director, Scott Chardine, on demoing some signs, that's some more interactive signage that we might be able to get up there along with our yearly grants that we're receiving for traffic safety out there too. So, and then I know Randy will probably talk a little bit about the storm demo, but the police officers and firefighters that worked up there, our public works came out and did an excellent job making sure the roads were clear for our emergency services and to get a couple of our neighborhoods that were kind of stuck in there. But those officers and firefighters that actually were going around making sure that everybody was safe, had what they needed to have. Some of our residents had no electricity for almost 5 days. So they did an excellent job of making sure that they were getting into those small pockets of our community to make sure that everything was okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you,
Yep.
Director Bly. Chief Miller? And I agree. They did a phenomenal job. I know that the night of, when power is out, we had police and firefighters out actually walking, knocking on doors making sure people are okay if they needed anything, so you guys did a phenomenal job. And Scott, your crews out there the night of, I know you guys have already, and you'll talk about it here in a minute, but responded to thousands of requests for service.
Good evening. So, as you are aware, October is Fire Prevention Month, and just like every year, we've teamed up with the National Fire Protection Association to promote this year's fire prevention campaign, Smoke Alarms, Make Them Work for You. Basically just encouraging people to have working smoke alarms. We do give out... Oh, sorry. All right.
Over.
The resident can call the fire department. We can help them put up a smoke detector, free batteries, things like that we can offer to the community. Anything to help them try to keep their home fire safe. As part of this, this past Saturday, we have obviously had our fire department open house, which is a great event, great weather, great turnout. So a lot of interaction with the community, good feedback. One of the things that I did want to bring up is our first open house in this area in Springfield Township was in 1964. So this was actually the 60th year that we've had some sort of fire prevention open house, fire prevention event for Springfield Township in this area. So I just want to make sure you are all aware of that as well. As part of Fire Prevention Month, we will be visiting schools, community groups, but if anybody does need want us to come out for a event, for a fire safety talk, for anything like that, they can just call the fire department. We can make sure they get on the schedule. Other than that, that is my report.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Again,
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work during the storm. Appreciate it. And the open house was great attendance. Scott, is there any way you could kind of give us an update on where we are with calls for service after the storm and what you guys have accomplished since last weekend?
Yes, sir, I can. Well, we began on the 27th, in the afternoon of the 27th, when the wind and everything come through. From there, we actually had some areas where we had to use our loader to push trees out of the way, just to clear the roads, driveways, sidewalks. I kind of was calling that damage control for Friday. Saturday, was able to give the staff off on Sunday. We jumped in Monday to debris removal. We had 3 complete rigs out, fully staffed, up until today, every day, including Saturday. I haven't done all of put everything together yet in the way of numbers, but I know that we're over 1,200 stops right now, and that will be ongoing. We do have calls for service through the rest of the week, but we've been through the township 2 times so far and cleared what we feel we're in really good shape. I've went to other communities where there's still brush sitting. So, and I think that we're better than 90% complete right now, I feel.
Fantastic. Your efforts are Herculean, I guess, in a week to do that many stops.
Right.
And we're not talking about a few limbs. They're pulling up in front of houses with the entire frontage of the property is full of brush, 2-3 feet high. And they've done, like you said, over 1,200 of them in a week. So long days, a lot of hard work, but I know that the residents appreciate it, and it's indicative of the service you provide. So thanks to you and your team.
Thank you.
Can you tell me where we're at with the current road projects? We should be wrapping those up here soon, correct?
Right now, we're doing manhole adjustments and full depth repairs in Brentwood as we speak. That was happening today. My hope would be we will see surface asphalt going in there next week. That would consider that project done. Topsoil restoration would that's all that would be left. As we're still doing curb work in Pleasant Run, that should be wrapping up probably mid to the end of next week. We'll come back in with full depth repairs, adjustments, and then that will be surfaced as well. So we're really on target and time-wise, and if the weather holds out, we're really knocking it out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Board, do you have any questions of staff regarding?
Good job.
Just thank all your staff for
I had
how
a
hard
couple
they
people
work.
told me that their mothers or uncles were visited to make sure that everybody was okay, and one was a 100-year-old woman, so they were very appreciative.
Thanks. So I wanted to save this one for last because obviously there's a lot of interested parties here in the audience and what's going on with development-wise in the township. So there's quite a few developments happening, and seemingly they're all happening at once. So it's a very busy time in our admin office. I think it's important to note that just for contextual purposes, and I think for everyone's sort of edification in the audience, the Board of Trustees will ultimately be the final say as it relates to zone change proposals. So while you're more than free to come up and express concerns and things today, unfortunately, just to maintain the integrity of the zoning process and advice of council to maintain the integrity of that process, they will listen to those concerns, but they won't be expressing any opinions or engaging with those concerns tonight. That will be done during the formal zoning approval process or, review processes. So that's kind of how we want it to happen tonight. I know a lot of you have questions or concerns. I'm more than happy to stay after and answer any questions. From a staff perspective, I don't get to vote on these proposals, so the board will not be able to do that, but obviously they'll take your concerns and take those into considerations, as the formal zoning review process takes place. So what do we have going on in the township? Well, there's a proposal to develop the former Whitaker Elementary School that Finneytown Schools has initiated. There's the Debo property, which I think many of you in the audience may be here for, is the 45-acre site at the corner of Lake Ridge and McKelvey. There's another development that potentially may be coming forth here in the next month or two relative to another piece of property to the east of the Debo property over off of Lee Crest. There is a development at the intersection of Bernard and Winton at the former West Banco, which is planned to be raised and turned into a drive-through coffee house. We have a zoning text amendment relative to the adult use cannabis dispensary legislation that the electorate here in Springfield Township passed by almost 70%. So there will be some changes to our zoning code relative to that. So I think it's important for people to realize too that, especially as it relates to residential development, at least in most cases, this board and the staff of the township isn't out seeking proactively residential development. Sometimes it just comes to us and lands in our lap. Frankly, we know as staff and at the direction of the board that we need to increase our commercial tax base, right? To lower the burden that's placed on residential taxpayers. So our focus primarily is seeking redevelopment and new development of commercial properties. Residential development happens, and we have to respond to it when it comes to us. Increasing residential development isn't something that a community like ours necessarily, like I said, goes out and seeks, because we are predominantly residential now, right? We need to increase our commercial tax base. However, with that being said, we are limited by state law in terms of what we can and can't do when those proposals are made to us. The township does not have the legal ability to prevent residential development. We cannot do that legally. People that own property have the right to develop the property for residential development. Now, they could do it as of right of what the current zoning is in place, and we cannot stop that. If we do, that's what's called in the law as a taking, and therefore the township would then be required to pay fair market value for that property. So we cannot zone something to be green space. That's not permitted under Ohio law unless we own the property. So I just want to be clear that anyone who wants to petition this board to say you have to prevent any development, that isn't feasible. Now, we can mitigate concerns, we can do different things in terms of requirements in developments, but at the end of the day, the idea that we're going to make someone preserve their 45 or 85 acres to remain at the green space and not build anything on it is not permitted under law. It's not feasible. It will not happen. It can't. So I just want to temper expectations of what the ability of this board is. This board is not, and I'll let them speak for themselves, but this board is not shy from maintaining green space. They preserved 42 acres in the southern part of this township because we owned it. We had the ability to develop it, and the board chose to maintain it as a green space, a nature preserve, 42 acres. The only reason we could do that is because the township owned the property and had owned it for well over 20 years. But they do not have the ability to say no to any and all development and maintain it as a green space. That is not permitted under law. So we will get sued and we will lose very quickly. So there's a lot going on. The board's going to have a lot to consider. I know all of you have a lot of concerns. We have, because this is the direction of the board, staff has had several courtesy meetings, and we will have several more related to these developments. Under Ohio law, frankly, under Ohio zoning law for townships, we're only required to notify adjacent property owners and those across the street of zone changes, of the formal process. But we go one step further and we notify everyone within 200 feet. Now, some people could say, why that number? Well, it could be 300, it could be 400, it could be 700. At some point, you have to pick a number. But that is way beyond even what Ohio law requires. We're definitely not required to have these informal sort of courtesy meetings, open houses that we have, but we feel like that's the right thing to do for the community. We want to be as transparent as possible. So while the board won't be there, because again, they want to maintain the integrity of the process when the actual proposal comes to them through the formal legal state statute required zoning process, staff will be there to answer those questions. That's the best we can do. So again, I encourage you to express your concerns. I know they'll listen, they'll take them into account, and staff, myself and our staff will do our best to answer those questions and have that dialogue at these informal open houses. And just know that we understand, we get it. But it isn't helpful, these conversations aren't helpful unless we're starting from a level playing field in terms of context and understanding what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. That's how they're going to be most productive. So I don't know if you guys have anything further to add, but I felt like it was important to set the table because I know a lot of people want to express their concerns and we want to hear them, but I just want to make sure everyone understands what we're able to do and what we're not able to do and what our abilities are and not. And frankly, what we can get into in a lot of these informal conversations are who has jurisdiction over what? Who has jurisdiction over utilities? Who has jurisdiction over the roads? Who has jurisdiction over geotechnical issues? Who has, jurisdiction over traffic signals? All those kind of things I think are important because there's a lot of assumptions being made, and I don't think a lot of people understand what the facts are, and that's what I hope these informal meetings will do. We'll provide everyone the necessary information for them to form a more informed sort of opinion of the developments because in a request of this board. Because it doesn't help to request things of this board when they don't have the authority to honor those requests. So hopefully that makes sense, and I appreciate you indulging me in sort of this soliloquy, if you will, but that's where things stand. Like I said, there's a lot of development, and for the township, I've been here for a little over 20 years in this capacity, not in my current position, but in other positions, and we've never had as much development requests as we have now. For those of you that live next to it, may not be necessarily the best thing, but I can tell you that it's a little encouraging to me as from a staff perspective to see that people are at least interested in the township. And hopefully that makes people comforted to know that there are outside individuals that see this as a desirable place to be. That doesn't mean that necessarily that we're in favor of every development. It just means that it's better than if no one saw this place as a place to invest in. But that doesn't mean that all developments are perfect or there's not issues with them or that every development should be approved. It just means that it's good to see that people think that this is a desirable place.
And I do live next to one of the developments he's speaking of.
Okay, with that, normally we would go into board resolutions. I think we're going to skip that for right now and come back to it at the end of the meeting. We do have a lot of people here. I'm anticipating that there's going to be a number of people that want to come up and address the board, tell us your concerns. So with that, why don't we go to the citizens' participation part of our meeting? What we do with this is we ask that anyone who would like to address the board come up to the microphone. I see that green light is off again. Is that thing working?
We'll go ahead and leave it on.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And please state your name and address. And while the person is speaking, we ask that everyone else remain quiet so we can hear what they have to say. And we have as much time. Anybody that wants to have any comments tonight, we're here to listen. As Mr. Gilbert said, because there is a statutory legal process that the township has to go through, ultimately, if there is to be some of these zoning decisions, they'll come before us as a board. We can't comment on it before we get to that final hearing, and we'll have to consider the evidence that's presented at that time. But for anybody who's here tonight, please feel free to come up and tell us your comments.
Joe, before we do that, can I just jump in real quick?
Sure.
And I just want to reiterate, because it really is kind of makes me nervous to have anyone speak on this topic right tonight, but the board wants to hear what people say. But do keep in mind, from a legal standpoint, anyone who comes to the township with an application for a development, they have the right to have all of the discussions related to their application to be in their presence, right? So, and they're not here tonight. They haven't provided an application. So that's the things that worry me. I don't want to give cause for them to, in litigation, to say that the board was not fair in their application because they heard what you all said, and before they walked into the hearing with these people, it was an unfair fight. So the board wants to hear what you say, but I'm going to be, and they like to interact with people and they like to give their explanations, but I'm going to be crazy about not letting them do that. I will even throw myself in front of them to stop that, because we want to be fair to everyone, including an applicant, right? We want to listen to what you say and we want to listen to what applicants say. And I never want someone to come before any board that I represent and say, you knew what you were going to do before we even walked in the room. Because that's not fair. It wouldn't be fair if we did it to you all. It wouldn't be fair if we did it to them. And frankly, if I walked into rooms where I knew the board already made decisions because of outside discussions.
Not this board.
Not this board. Never this board. But I have, and it's just not fair. And you walk in and you're like, yeah, they're already against me before I even walk in. They know stuff or they've made a decision. So
Well, I think equally as importantly, though, Ms. Abrams, is that we want to ensure if the board does take an action to deny someone's application, that we're not giving them ammunition to sue us and win either.
Right, absolutely. So if this went on for like hours and hours and hours, Joe, I would recommend we not do it. Because you all would have an opportunity to speak at those hearings as well. So it's not like this is your only opportunity to speak, but just bear in mind that the whole thing makes me nervous, because I don't want anyone to make an argument that we were not fair to them either. So the board has expressed its desire to listen to what you have to say, and I'm okay with that. But please don't hold it against anyone that they're not responding, because they really can't. Because if they were to say to you right now, well, you're right, I have that same concern too, then the applicant, if they were denied their application, they could win in a lawsuit by saying that trustee already knew what they were going to vote before I even walked in the door. Frankly, before I even gave an application. So, and they would believe that, whether it was true or not. I would believe that if I walked in and I pulled the camera here and then watched the video and like, wow, they were interacting and they're agreeing with everything you say. So just please know that's why they're doing it, and it's the darn lawyer's fault. 99% of what's going on in the world is the darn lawyer's fault. I'm the darn lawyer, but I take ownership for that. But I just want it to be fair, because I don't know what the board's going to do on any development, and you just want to make sure it's fair when we walk in. So I hope you understand, and get mad at the lawyer if you want. Most people do.
We do.
We do on public health.
Zoning commission has it.
Okay, okay.
So y'all came here tonight, and we don't want you to have wasted your time. So, you know, if somebody else says the same thing you were going to say, then, you know, because Laura really doesn't want us to go through with this. But you guys went out of your way, came up here. We don't want you to waste your time. So if somebody wants to step up and give us your name and address and let everybody else be quiet, we'd love to hear what you all have to say.
Hello. So I do have copies of things, but I'm not sure if you want those with,
Give them to me.
can I give them to you?
Absolutely.
Staff can take information, they can have conversations,
Okay.
if they don't vote.
Perfect. Got it.
Perfect. So, my name is Amberly Lovett. I live at 9845 Lorelei Drive. And I'm here on behalf of myself and my neighbors. And we wrote a statement and we had people sign it. At this point, currently online and then also on paper, I have over 225 signatures in support of the letter that I'm going to read to you. But just to show that force that we have. If you are here today and you signed that petition or that letter, if you could stand up just to be acknowledged, that would be great. Wonderful, and you can sit back down. And if you haven't signed it and you would like to, you're welcome to. So I'm going to read that letter now, and it looks like a lot, but that's just because I made big print because I was nervous. So yeah, cool, great. So, dear Township Trustees, as a concerned resident of the neighborhood directly impacted by the potential Dries development on McKelvey Road, we would like to express our community's collective concerns regarding this project. We value the safety and livability of our area, and it is crucial that the proposed changes are carefully considered before moving forward. The new development stands to significantly impact our community, and we must address several key issues to protect the interest of current residents. First and foremost, we want to petition the Township Trustees and Zoning Board members to ensure any zoning decisions are contingent upon a comprehensive traffic report conducted by independent local experts at the expense of Dries Homes, and we request this report be made available to the public. The traffic study should include critical intersections such as McKelvey and Lake Bridge, McKelvey and Lorelei, Lee Jan and Lorelei, McKelvey and Winton, McKelvey and Corbett, and McKelvey and Silvergate. Given the anticipated addition of approximately 140 housing units leading to many new additional vehicles, it is essential to evaluate whether the existing roads can safely accommodate this projected increase in traffic. We also request that soil and geotechnical engineering reports by independent local experts be required at the expense of Dries Homes prior to any zoning changes to ensure a comprehensive understanding of the implications of this development. A soil report will determine the potential for foundational hazards which directly impact the sustainability of this development. A geotechnical report performed by a professional geologist will provide a more detailed analysis of the site, identifying issues with groundwater and landslide risk. These reports are necessary when determining the safety, stability, and longevity of the potential development. As neighbors already hesitant about the proposed development, we want to make certain that any new construction is high quality and sustainable to minimize the impact on surrounding homes. Additionally, the population density of the proposed development should be critically reviewed to safeguard and enhance the livability of the existing residents. This entails discouraging excessive population density by prohibiting spot zoning and prohibiting multifamily units. Rather, we are asking for evenly spaced housing to be consistent with the surrounding neighborhoods. The new housing should harmonize with the surrounding neighborhoods and contribute positively to the character of our community. Furthermore, the surrounding streets will bear the brunt of the impact. Currently, they lack sidewalks and have poor drainage, requiring pedestrians and cyclists to regularly use the street for recreational activities. The anticipated increase in traffic from the prospective development poses a significant safety hazard for these pedestrians, cyclists, and other residents. While we recognize the need to create safe pedestrian areas, we're also deeply concerned by the potential loss of our property and increased taxes from the installation of sidewalks, as well as the financial burden these changes may impose on current residents. It is our belief that Drees Homes should bear the cost of any necessary modifications, as their development is the catalyst for these changes. Another traffic concern is specific to the construction traffic flow. We strongly advocate that construction vehicles be banned from Lee Jan and Lorelei roads, as this would increase noise and dirt and potentially damage roads built to standards from 1955, which cannot support heavy-weighted construction equipment. In addition, these 70-year-old standards did not anticipate the proposed development's vehicular volumes. Lorelei Drive has served as a legally non-conforming road due to a single neighborhood entrance without issue since 1955. Thus, the argument for needing a second neighborhood entrance for the Lorelei neighborhood on Lorelei Drive is not compelling. The addition of a second entrance through the proposed development will only heighten traffic flow and reduce public safety on Lorelei Drive. For this reason, we are requesting that the connection from Lorelei Drive to the new development via Lee Jan Drive be prohibited for the safety of these residents. We neighbors have major concerns about the increased traffic flow and the impact of safety, as well as the negative impact on commute times. We are requesting the installation of an on-demand traffic light at all streets intersecting with McKelvey Road that will experience heightened traffic flow. These on-demand traffic lights will facilitate safe exits for current residents from existing streets. In addition, we are asking for an additional exit from the proposed development exiting to Lake Ridge Drive so traffic can evenly filter out of the proposed subdivision. This dispersion of traffic will reduce the vehicles on McKelvey Road, creating safer roads for residents. Another way to maintain safer roads is designating all new streets as public rather than private. This designation guarantees proper maintenance of the streets and adequate infrastructure to manage the increased traffic flow. An article from Journal News in 2018 specifically looked at the financial burden to Cincinnati drivers due to mediocre road conditions. This article estimates poor roads cost the average Cincinnati area driver more than $2,000 annually. Public roads are typically better maintained than private roads, as they are the responsibility of the government, which increases the safety and integrity of the road. Furthermore, we are concerned about the implications of installing sewer and gas lines to support the new development. Residents on McKelvey Road previously faced resistance when requesting these utilities, and we seek clarification on why the township is now permitting their installation. Moreover, if sewer lines are to be installed under the Hellwig baseball fields, it would severely limit the park's use during construction. We also wish to understand if current residents will have the opportunity to connect to these new utility lines. Additionally, we have learned that the proposed Drees development may receive a tax abatement, which raises concerns about bias toward the developers and new residents at the expense of those who have long called this community home. We wish to understand the need for this tax abatement and the impact it will have on current residents. Remember, Township trustees, that you are entrusted with maintaining the safety, integrity, and character of our neighborhoods. Your decisions directly influence our lives, our safety, and the heritage we wish to pass on to future generations. We implore you to consider the safety and well-being of the existing residents as you deliberate the Drees development. Our community deserves a thoughtful and responsible approach to the growth that prioritizes the interest of longtime residents. Please take our concerns seriously as we strive for development that enhances rather than compromises the quality of life in our township. We thank you for your attention to this critical matter, and we look forward to your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to invite at this point my neighbor Ivory to speak a little more on a couple of these details.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having us tonight. We appreciate your time and consideration. My name is Ivory Faith. I live at 9852 Lorelei Drive. And I am here to read a statement on behalf of my neighbor on Lake Ridge. Her name is Janice Forte. She asks, please be aware that the acreage around the McKelvey and Lake Ridge Drive is known to be a karst terrain or landscape as indicated by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Karst Interactive Map. Karst is a topography formed from the dissolution of soluble carbonate rocks such as limestone and dolomite. It is characterized by features like polyaes or depressions above and drainage systems with sinkholes and caves underground. The geologic systems are known to be most problematic for structural foundation building engineering. There are known documented large sinkholes within 1/4 mile of the intended development. The sinkholes on the Diebold Farm property have not been identified yet because the ODNR did not receive permission to investigate the terrain. Also, there is earth movement or landslides in multiple areas with less than a mile of the, within less of a mile than the proposed development due to a glacial lake bed that is interbedded through creeks in the area. One site that connects to the Diebold property is on the Lake Ridge Drive between McKelvey and Corbett, and it is continuing to enlarge with each passing month. Sinkholes are present in Winton Woods in the areas abutting Lake Ridge and on the property at McKelvey and Lake Ridge. Some homes on McKelvey have foundation issues. Newer homes on Thoroughbred, east of the proposed development, have had subsurface problems that have required heavy equipment to secure foundations from splits and cracks in the foundations. Some years ago, Huffman Court, west near the Township Police Department, had multiple homes with issues, some requiring demolition. This is a buyer beware situation unless geologic borings are required to 40 feet or below grade for verification of bedrock on each of the potential home sites. Trees should be held accountable for eventual structural and drainage problems. Will trees be required to be bonded or provide escrowed funds for this type of catastrophic home, road, and infrastructure construction issues? Respectfully yours, Janice P. Forte. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to follow up with those two. They asked me to speak on a couple different things. My name is Damian Andawan. I live at 9930 McKelvey Road. And to speak just briefly on her geotechnical piece.
I'm sorry, did you say Damien?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I live at 9930, and as part of a geological study done about 50 years ago by the University of Cincinnati and the U.S. Geological Society, I have a 50-page report, which is an adjacent property to what's proposed for the new development. So I have that information. I also have all kinds of additional maps that need to be considered because this is identified by subject experts as something that needs to be looked at. But I was asked just briefly to talk about traffic patterns. So I contacted Eric Beck, who's the Hamilton County engineer, and he provided me data on as much. It's from actually the Ohio Department of Transportation, and their managing director, Jeff Newby, provided me the data.
Jeff Newby is a county employee.
Pardon me?
Jeff Newby works for the county engineer's office.
But yes, correct. He's managing engineer.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
You mentioned ODOT, that's why I just wanted to make sure
so
everyone knew you.
Yeah, he pulled the information from the ODOT resource and everything. I'm hoping you already have some of this data.
Well,
for due diligence purposes but I can easily provide it since they provided me with just a.
I have access to it.
Okay, good. So you may already be familiar with, when it comes to, at this point, the developer will be conducting a traffic impact study. But I have the current information that was kind of surprising to me, but some people need to be aware. It's the traffic pattern on Winton Road. It's the number of vehicles that travel on Winton Road in front of the YMCA on a daily basis is about 32,000. Then we'll move down to where McKelvey is. Down at McKelvey and Winton, you have about 15,000 per day. And then it drops down to, once you get to the bridge at the park, 23,000. So that's, the big concern that continues to come up is traffic patterns. And if you take a look at the proposal on why there's being entertained entrance off of Lorelei, it's kind of alarming because you have that kind of traffic pattern with the development as well. So I have that data. I'm sure you'll have it as well. I'd like to sit down at one point for what you described as just an informal meeting to discuss some of the data that I have.
We're having one
Yeah.
Thursday night.
Right, I'll certainly be there.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, based on the vast information that I have in history, I also own 2 other properties there on Winton Road that would be affected with
I will
this.
make myself available and spend all the time you need.
Sounds great. That's all I had. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks.
Look
Nick.
forward to walking through this process with everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sandra Presley, and I'm the Senior Branch Manager of the North Central Branch Library. And I just first want to, before I give the address, want to thank you all for allowing me to speak during such a difficult conversation. The address of our branch is 11109 Hamilton Avenue. I just want to spread the word about some of the things that the library is doing. As some of you know, the Mount Healthy branch has been relocated to the old CVS building, and they will be opening early November. So I would love for others to explore outside of the neighborhood and enjoy one of our branches that is going to be opening soon. A couple of other things that I wanted to share is this month in October, we will have a ghosts presentation. So it's called Ghost Hunting Ohio, and you'll get to learn about all the spooky areas in Ohio. And that is on Wednesday, October 23rd from 7 until 8 p.m. And it's for teens and adults. I would not recommend our littles join in on that conversation. Another important event I wanted to share is about our Q&A session for college readiness. So with this session, we will have Professor Dr. Raymond Whitty, and he's going to talk about admissions procedures, college readiness, scholarships, credit transfer, and all of the survival techniques that a new incoming student would need going into university, and just all the options that they might have that might not have thought of. So that one is Thursday, October 25th at 7 p.m. And then the last event that I'd like to share in October is our PB and Jam World of Music. Now, this is definitely geared towards our littles. It is 10:30 in the morning until 11:15, and we encourage you all to come out with your families and enjoy some fun music and a little bit of dancing. And every single event that I mentioned is free and open to the public. I also have some calendars for November, but for the sake of time and making sure that community members are able to share the things that they'd like to share, I will hand them over to Kim, and she can hand them out to everyone. But once again, I'm Sandra Presley. I'm from the North Central Branch Library. I would love to see some of you and even residents come out and visit and enjoy some of our free programming. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Yes, sir.
I just have a quick question. There was a reference earlier by the lawyer about the meeting where the applicant is going to present. Is there a way that the general public can view that application before that meeting?
Absolutely.
How would I do that?
You want to contact Kathleen Kennedy within our office here? We'd be happy to let you see those.
Actually, a copy of the application is available at the front desk here at the administration building during our office hours, 8 to 5 through the week.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got there after 5.
Okay, I'm happy to talk to you or send you a copy.
All of that is a public record.
We have the copies now.
We do have copies of the application for the project on McKelvey. Yep.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can get him one tonight for you, Lee?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Margaret Longshore, 4016 Appaloosa Court, and I'm just curious about what the current zoning is on these several of these plans.
R1 single family.
Okay, and I know I'm in Meadows Red Farm Phase 1 and Phase 3 was filled. Is the proposal already ready for the Phase 2? Okay. I'm just hoping it's going to follow the original plans to connect into our neighborhood, because we do have that dead-end street that's supposed to connect through.
Yeah, so it hasn't been formally applied for yet.
Do you expect that to be this year, do you know?
I don't know. I'm hesitant to say and tell you something that isn't going to happen, but I don't know. That's going to be up to the person who bought the property.
Okay, you're saying you want it to connect?
Yeah, I would like it. It's supposed to be connecting through, so we have two exits to our neighborhood for safety.
Okay.
Otherwise, we only have one. If something were to happen at the entrance, we will all be stuck.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board this evening? Anybody? Don't be shy. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shelley Sherman, and I reside at 1034 Spruce Glen Drive. And I just have a question about policy. I'm a career HR person, so I am not looking for specifics or anything like that. But is there a policy that we could review that gives us an idea of how applications are processed? So what are the things that you look for? I heard our neighbor here, our Springfield Township neighbor, talk about the integrity of the projects and making sure that they're a positive impact. So is there something that would help us understand a little bit better what you look at and how you assess the applications to know whether you're going to approve them or deny them? I live very close to a development right now, and I'm very interested to know what that development is going to be and how it's going to impact our neighborhood. So is there something that that the general public can look at?
I think our
Ms. Sherman,
would be happy to answer that.
I would love to answer that question for you.
Thank you.
Shelley and I happen to know each other outside of the township. All of those answers can be found in the township's zoning resolution as to what sort of criteria or qualifications staff and the zoning commission and the board of trustees use to kind of measure or what they'll approve and what they won't approve. The zoning resolution can be kind of a slog to get through if you're not used to reading that kind of material. So I would be more than happy to sit down with you sometime and review that together if you'd like.
I would love that. I will make an appointment with
Okay,
you.
sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? It can be on this topic or any other issue you're here about. Anyone else? Yes, yes.
Can I speak again?
Sure.
Okay. I just had, real quick, just a clarification. So my neighbor down the street is on Appaloosa, right? And so that is like down the street from.
It's a different development.
It's
Yeah,
a different
they're aware.
development.
They're aware.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Wanna make sure.
We realize that, yes. Okay.
Conflicting things.
Now we get it.
I'm shy, so
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Auberger, 9868 McKelvey Road. I just happened to stop by the Park District the other day, and I said, hey, what about that new development going in? And they're like, what? So I think they're within 200 feet, and so I would just recommend that you might want to get some input from the Park District about how this will affect
Yeah, we do see.
their lives. Okay.
Yeah, notification was sent to the Park District, and they're aware of the project. So I don't know if it was just this person you spoke with, but
I spoke to several people, and I gave her all the information, and she said she would send it up the ladder and have someone talk to you guys.
Yeah, it just so happens, maybe the person you spoke to isn't
Yeah.
aware of it, but I guarantee you the people in charge of the Park District are.
they're aware.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? It appears that there is not.
What I would ask is, if you don't mind, I'd be happy to stay after the meeting and have any conversations anyone would want to. So if you want to hang out, and let them get through their 3 or 4 resolutions, and I'd be happy to hang out for just a minute if you want to.
This will be short.
I hope.
First one, so we're going to close the public participation part. We're moving on to resolutions. Our first resolution before the board this evening is Resolution Number 93, 2024, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Ms. Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Bernie.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next resolution is Resolution Number 94, 2024, declaring motor vehicles located on public or private property in Springfield Township, Hamilton County, Ohio, to be junk motor vehicles pursuant to Revised Code 505.173 and ordering the removal of such vehicles pursuant to Resolution Number 80, 2012, and Revised Code Section 505.871. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Ms. Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Bernie.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And finally, we have Resolution Number 95, 2024, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Bernie.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, do we have any old business before the board this evening?
I do not.
Any new business?
No.
Not.
You know,
Nope.
yeah, okay.
Nope.
With that then, is there anything, Mr. Gilbert, anything else?
No?
Okay. With
I would
that,
just like to thank the audience for understanding the limitations. You're all very rational, kind people, and lawyers don't get that a lot, so
there,
I do appreciate it. I mean, it's good to express your concerns, but I was a little more worried than what it actually came out, so thank you. I appreciate it.
well, yeah, this is a legal process and we will get through it and be fair to everybody. Thank you for coming. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
All right.
Thank you all for coming.